our next story. We are going to expose Byron Donalds. Yes, we are. Congressman, representative from Florida. We have some things to say here. We're going to start with the response from Marcel for Congress. Marcel Dixon, he's been on the show a couple times before. He's running for Congress as an independent. He responded to Byron Donalds. This is in reference to a event that happened in Fulton County, Georgia. From what I understand from this event, this was an attempt from the GOP to speak to the Black community. It is what it is. And something went terribly wrong. Something happened during this event with Byron that went terribly wrong. So Marcel Dixon calls this out. He said, while the descendants of Native Americans, interned Japanese and their descendants, Holocaust survivors and their descendants, Iranian hostages and their descendants, Guamanians, downwinders and their descendants, illegal immigrants, refugees, and more all get reparations, we get BS answers like this. The work continues. When do they have these events? And are they even advertised? Byron Donalds said a whole lot of contradictory, untrue babble. Let's get into it, fam. So this is coming from Hotep Virgin Mary event in Fulton County, Georgia, with two Black Republican congressmen, Wesley Hunt and Byron Donalds. Someone asked them about reparations for the Black community. Guys, this did not go well. Listen to this.
And Trump. Dr. King said at the tail end of his life, he said, we're going to Washington to get our check. You understand? So now, what is your position on reparations?
Thank you. Great question.
Did you see how he did that? Watch the way he points his finger at him. So this gentleman here is saying that when Dr. King led the March on Washington, one of the things he said they were going there to do is to get our checks. So yes, MLK was in favor of reparations and believed that that was deserved to descendants of slavery because, again, it is a debt that is owed. But watch the way he does this, fam. Watch the way he points at him. He goes, what is your take on that?
Why? He said, we're going to Washington to get our check. You understand? So now, what is your position on reparations?
Thank you. Great question. Thank you. If we can all be quiet and let them answer. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll be direct.
So this is Byron Donalds, and that is Wesley Hunt. Byron Donalds is the one speaking.
First of all, I'll be direct with you. I'll be. Sorry. We don't want to hear the Jim Crow stuff. Listen, I'm gonna be direct with you. I don't believe in reparations. I don't. Well, then you don't believe in the Black community. That's
Okay, let's pause there. We're going to pause in between a little bit. So Byron Donalds said, I don't believe in reparations. I just don't. That was what Byron Donalds said. Hold that statement, okay? Because reparations has been provided for different groups. But what I'm going to show you is how Byron Donalds reveals himself here, because it's not that he disagrees with reparations. He agrees with reparations for other groups. He just disagrees for reparations for descendants of slavery. And he'll show himself here with that. The gentleman said, then you don't believe in the Black community. Listen to this.
I will tell you, brother in the hat with the glasses on, that's not true. What I will tell you is that there's a question if you're going to get into the full economics of reparations right now. Question number one, of all Black people in the country, how many of them are actually descendants of slaves? Because you've had a lot of immigration over the last 100 years in America. Of American slavery. There was slavery in the Caribbean. The one brother came up, he said that he's first generation, the brother in the Congo, because his parents came from Jamaica. My grandmother is from Jamaica. So
Pause. Listen very carefully to what he is saying here. Everyone pay attention.
The one brother came up, he said that he's first generation, the brother in the Congo, because his parents came from Jamaica. My grandmother is from Jamaica. So
So in the Caribbean, they have CARICOM, right? Byron Donald tells you that his grandmother is from Jamaica. Is everyone starting to see why he doesn't agree with it now? Everyone's starting to see, again, reparations is a debt that's owed. So Byron Donalds is making this about himself. Let's continue.
He said that he's first generation of the brother in the Kango because his parents came from Jamaica. My grandmother is from Jamaica, so my grandmother's Jamaican. I know exactly what you're talking about. My mother was born in the United States. I'm born in the United States. So this is a fundamental question. You a black man, I'm a black man. Am I eligible for reparations right now? I would say the answer is no, I'm not.
Okay, so no, he would not be eligible for it. So Byron Donalds is against it because he is not eligible for it. What the? Reparations is not something that is owed to black people. It is based on status. It is based on lineage. It is owed to descendants of slavery. General Sherman made this promise to slaves and descendants and their descendants, 40 acres and a mule. So what people like Byron needs to understand is that, yes, it's true. He would not qualify for it. His family was not a part of that. Yes, slavery has happened in countries in the Caribbean, but they would need to take that claim up with the countries that directly came after them. Haiti would have to take this up with France. So people have to understand Caribbean countries have CARICOM. They have their own organization for this. But because it would not include him, he is against it. Let's go on a little bit more. It's a mess.
Because my family is from Jamaica. My father's Panamanian. His grandparents were born in Panama. My father immigrated to the United States. So does that make me eligible? So you got to go through all of that. That's step one. Step number two.
So again, you guys hearing this, you got to go through all of that. Does that make me eligible? So it's all about what's good for him. Now, let me call out the hypocrisy here, folks, because Byron Donalds has no problem agreeing for reparations for other groups, which did not include him as well. It's only when it's reparations for descendants of slavery. Do you hear Byron Donalds sitting up here speaking out against reparations for Holocaust survivors? That doesn't include Byron Donalds. He has no problem with that. When we follow the funds, we'll show you why he has no problem with that. It's only when it's for descendants of slavery, because he says, I'm a black man. It doesn't include me. No, it would not include you because it's not based on that. It's based on lineage. You are not a descendant of slavery, Byron. So no, it would not include you. I had this conversation with Dr. Molina recently, Friday. And this is what I was trying to explain to Dr. Molina. I said, you cannot base it on race, number one, because those people, if you were not here, if your family was not here, that debt is not owed to you from the US government. That debt is owed to those who had family that was here at that point in time. And then two, the Supreme Court would overturn it if you were to base it solely on race and say all black people get reparations. That would be overturned by the 14th Amendment. This is what I was trying to explain to Dr. Molina. This is what happens when we try to, you can't all lives matter it. Legally, it will fail. Let's continue.
Slavery under federal law was ended in 1865. The Jim Crow era ended, obviously, with the 64 Civil Rights Act, the 65 Voting Rights, etc. The fundamental question is, you've now had 3 generations of black people come up in the United States. As a black kid today, does he get reparations?
No. Do you see what he's doing? He said, you've had 3 generations come here since that are black for reparations. So let me ask you this question. Japanese Americans that were part of the internment camps that receive reparations and their descendants receive cash reparations as well. You can make that same argument there, Byron, but he's not going to make that argument. I don't hear Byron saying for all of the other people that are Asian that immigrated to the United States since after the internment camps, they're not included in that. Would that include them as well? No, he's not going to bring that up. This is the failure with this. Why would you be awarded a debt that did not belong to you? If your family came here 1970, 1980, all the time, no, you are not a part of that claim. That debt is not owed to you. Your family wasn't here. Now, this is not to say you cannot take that up with other countries that did enslave people in your country. But legally, you would not qualify for that. So this is where I wish somebody would have been in that audience and would have explained to Byron, no, Byron, you wouldn't qualify, and this is the reason why. So Byron is leading with the talking point that reparations needs to be based solely on race. Reparations has to be based on lineage.
Third question. Hold on now. Third question. You got a lot of other people in the United States. Asians, are they responsible for the cost of the slave trade? No, because they're of Asian descent. People of Indian descent. People who are Hispanic in the United States. The largest growing population in the United States. And of course, the dominant population is still the white population. But even in that, it's not just Southern whites that were plantation owners from their grandfathers.
So to that same point where he said it's not just some whites that were plantation owners, why is the U.S. government is giving reparations to Holocaust survivors still today? Governor Hochul gave more reparations towards Holocaust survivors after October 7th. Obama gave reparations towards Holocaust survivors. Those atrocities didn't take place in the United States. Why doesn't Byron Donalds have that same talking point when it's in reference to another group of people? Wake up, guys. This makes no sense to me. This makes no sense to me at all. It is a debt that is owed. Now, Byron Donald, I'm sure, would sit there and say, you need to pay your student loan back because you took out that debt. It is a debt that's owed. The U.S. government needs to pay the debt that is owed to descendants of slavery in this country, just like they have done for other groups.
So if you're going to talk about reparations today, what you're talking about is taking money from other Americans, which quite rightly, the pain and the toil that did happen in America through slavery, through Jim Crow, but now you're asking Americans today and in the future to pay that bill.
Did Byron Donalds complain when there were reparations given to other groups in this country? Did he make that same statement that you're making all these other Americans foot that bill? No, he did not. Where was he speaking out then? Why weren't all these people saying something then? Why were all these people quiet at that point in time? Where were they? Where were they? Did anybody speak out? Any of these politicians speak out when Governor Hochul just gave more reparations to Holocaust survivors? No, they did not. Did any of them speak out and say, you're making people pay for this that had nothing to do with it? No.
That bill, is it their bill, Americans today, to pay? I'll ask you a slightly different question. It's not reparations. It's about Joe Biden's student loan bailout. And I'm not going off, but it's a comparison point. 2/3 of the American people did not go to college. Is it okay for Joe Biden to say, well, we're going to forgive student loans, even though 2/3 did not go to college? Is it now the debt burden of the 2/3 of the American people that did not go? I will tell you the answer is no. People may not like that, but that's the reality. And brother, I want to be respectful of you, because I understand the reparations argument. But we are now more than 150 years from the Emancipation Proclamation. We are easily 80 years from the end of the Jim Crow era. Who now? I just addressed it. I said no, and now I'm giving my answer. And here's the thing. So here's what I'm going to say, and I want to thank you for your service. Because what's coming up in the room is It's taking you too long to answer. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want Vice President Harris to talk about Venn diagrams and then tell you, yeah, okay, yes?
So see how he pivots away from that conversation now, right? He said he understands reparations, but apparently he doesn't, because the only reason he's against it is because it doesn't include him. You can't have no one in the room. There's no one in the room. I would have loved to have seen Marcel Dixon in that room. And that's why he asked the question. He said, was this event even announced? Was it advertised? Are you having any more of these meetings? This meeting took place in Georgia. So no one in the audience that can make the case. Imagine if Marcel Dixon was in that audience. He's the one who will be able to push back so effectively because he knows the data and he has the facts.
Is that what we're gonna do? Do you want Joe Biden to not even be able to answer your question because he won't get into the details of this? Because the reality is you have a lot of people who will throw out talking points because it sounds good, because they want your vote, but they're not gonna do what's necessary to make sure that you're successful in this country.
And they clapping and falling right for it. And Byron Donalds, you're not gonna do what's necessary to make people successful in this country either. And let me show you why. So when we follow the money, this is another AIPAC puppet, another one. Let's go down and look. Contributors from 2011 to 2024. Peep this, fam. We got Robin Hood Markets, House Freedom Fund, Robin Hood Markets, Advocate Radiation Oncology, Black Americans PAC, Sunshine Gasoline Distributors. And here it is. American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So here's the point that I want to make here. AIPAC is only going to give money to those that are going to advocate for the pro-Israel cause, which Byron Donalds does. He advocates for the pro-Israel cause. Now, Byron Donalds is totally fine with giving reparations to Holocaust survivors. But Byron Donalds is not fine with you giving reparations towards descendants of slavery. Now, he can sit there in that room and tell people that he doesn't agree with it because he's a black man and it doesn't include him. Well, honey, pretty sure reparations for Holocaust survivors doesn't include you either, but you ain't had no problem supporting that. And that's because the organization that donates to him, one of them is AIPAC. So they don't give to politicians that, again, are not going to fight for their cause. That's how these donations work. So when I tell you a lot of these politicians are bought and paid for, they are bought and paid for. So this is the hypocrisy. My thing is, when it comes to reparations, at least be consistent. Be consistent. If he would have said, I disagree with reparations, and he meant it all around the board, that's one thing. But he doesn't. He only disagrees with reparations for descendants of slavery. He's totally fine for reparations for other groups. That's the hypocrisy, and that's the problem. And why is he that way? Look at where the money is coming from. Now, I don't see Byron Donalds speaking out against the money that the United States give Israel every year. He's not going to, because he's another AIPAC puppet. These meetings that Byron Donalds is hosting, again, if you don't have someone in the audience there that's like Marcel Dixon or Yvette Carnell or any of the other reparations activists to challenge and push back on that with data and facts, it's a pointless conversation. And that's why Marcel said, according to this, when do they have these events? And are they even advertised? That's why he said that. Because 9 times out of 10, he probably would have found a way to be there. So no, Byron, it does not include you. And just because it doesn't include you doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. It's owed. It is a debt that's owed. And there is a difference between racial justice and a debt that is owed. So some things you still may experience because you are a Black man, but there is a difference between racial justice and a debt that is owed, period. They kill me with, he kill me with this. Kill me with this.